Hi there. Hi there. How are you doing? Let's get it started. Today we'll have our class number 94. This is part of the lesson The Green Future. And today we have to practice reading and language point. We're gonna just start the language point. So we have a text here that you should read, and we're gonna do this together, okay? Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode in our mini podcast series for beginners. In the last podcast, we discussed climate change. Following on from that, this episode is about how we can produce energy in the future. We are talking to Elliot Barnes, a renewable energy expert. Elliot, what's the difference between fossil fuels and renewable energy? There are two main differences. Renewable energy, like solar power, will never run out, but there is a limited amount of fossil fuels. In other words, we can completely use up all the oil and coal in the world, but we can never use all the sun's energy. What's the second difference? The second difference is that fossil fuels cause global warming or climate change, while renewable energy is cleaner and safer. Great. So you mentioned solar energy. Tell us more about that. Solar energy uses panels to catch sunlight and convert it to electricity. Solar power works in many parts of the world, and the cost of solar panels has gone down by 80% in the last 20 years because the price is now so low. It seems like a great future source of energy. Hold on, there's one big problem with solar energy. It doesn't work at night. You're right. Luckily, there are other types of renewable energy. Wind turbines can produce energy 24/7. These are cheap to operate, although they can be noisy. I've seen those. I kind of like the way they look. Are there many other options? Another type of energy that works all the time is ground source heating, which uses heat from the earth. I think I've heard of that. My neighbor installed a system like that for heating her house. Yes, it's becoming very popular. It's very reliable because it almost never breaks down. Are there any problems? Yes. Well, yes, there are. You need a lot of land to heat one home, so it's not very useful in cities. Before we finish, let me just talk about hydropower. In other words, using moving water to produce electricity. Yes, this is a very old idea and it's safe and reliable. The problem is that climate change cannot affect how well hydropower works. In what way? Well, if it stops raining and rivers or lakes dry out, there's not enough water to move the turbines. Interesting. We're out of time now, so we're going to have to stop talking and say goodbye. Thanks so much for listening. Okay, you have the option to stop the video and read again, okay, and or check the pronunciation and read and come back to the language point that is conjunctions. Let's study conjunctions. Study the sentences and answer the questions below. So let's read. We can connect two ideas in one sentence using conjunctions. So that's the main function of conjunctions. We use them to connect ideas, two ideas in one sentence. These words explain the relationship between the two ideas. We may be adding a similar piece of information. So we can have conjunctions to add, like and is a conjunction that means addition. We can contrast the second idea with the first, right? When you have different ideas. Or we can express cause and effect, reason and result. Let's see some examples. Bears eat a wide range of foods, and raccoons do too. So we have and here, the conjunction that means addition. You have the same idea here. So bears eat a wide range of foods, and raccoon too. They also eat a wide range of foods. Same idea. Ian paints trees, lakes, and natural settings, but Jane prefers cityscapes. In this case, you have a contrast, right? Because Ian prefers things related to nature, like lakes, trees, but Jane prefers things related to the city. Let's go to the practicing. We have three sentences here, and we have to choose to show the conjunctions. The first one is if it stops raining and rivers and or lakes dry out, there's not enough water to move the turbines. So this is a sentence from the text that we read, and is a sentence that we have a condition here. If it stops raining and the rivers or lake dry out, what happens? What is the effect? There's not enough water to move the turbines. So if here is a conjunction, okay? If. And it means cause and effect. The second sentence here, ground source heating is very reliable because it almost never breaks down. We have two sentences here, and the conjunction is because. So this is the reason, right? Reason and result. The reason is because it almost never breaks down. And so the result, you can see that ground source heating is very reliable. You need, the third sentence here, you need a lot of land to heat one home. So ground source heating is not very useful in cities. What is the conjunction here that connect to it, two ideas is so. In this case, it is cause and effect, okay? So let's go to the next slide, 7. Answer these questions. Let's see. You can read the question and go to the text. What is the relationship between the two ideas in sentences 1 and 3? Oh, okay. You don't need because I put the sentences here. So the sentence 1 is the one, if it stops raining and rivers or lakes dry out, there's not enough water to move the turbines. In the sentence 3, you need a lot of land to heat one home, so ground source heating is not very useful in cities. What is the relationship? I think I told before, right? You have, in this case, cause and effect, right? So let's see here. We have cause and effect, reason and result. You need a lot of land to heat one home, and the result is ground source heat is not very useful in cities because you need a lot of land, right? A clause is a piece of a sentence with a subject and a verb. How many clauses does each sentence contain? This question is very easy because you know that you can connect two sentences, right? So if it stops raining and rivers or lakes dry out is one sentence, there is not enough water to move the turbines is the second one. Here, ground source heating is very reliable, one sentence, because it almost never breaks down the second one. And the same happens in the third one. Need, the verb of the first sentence. So ground source heating is not very useful in cities. So two, all of them have two clauses, two sentences. Circle the subjects and underline the verbs in both clauses of the sentences. So let's see in the first one. If it stops raining, rivers or lakes dry out. We have here it, right? We have the verb stops and the verb dry out. So here you have one subject and rivers or lakes. It's the second one. Remember, you must pause before doing it, right? There is not enough water to move the turbines. So the subject there and is the verb, right? There is not enough water to move the turbines. Ground source zero, ground source heating is. So here you have a subject and is the verb. Very reliable because it almost never breaks down. And the third one, you have you need the verb, a lot of land to hit one home. So ground source heating is not very useful in cities. It, rivers or lakes, there, ground source heating, it, you, and ground source heating. And then the verbs stops, dry out, is, stop, dry out, is again, I'm lost. Okay, stops, dry out, and then you have the first is, the second is, breaks down, need, and is. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 4, what is the difference between so and because? We have number 2 here. Look, the sentences. Ground source heating is very reliable because it almost never breaks down. So why it is reliable? Because it almost never breaks down. So it's the reason, right? And you need a lot of land to heat one home. So the consequence ground source heating is not very useful in city. So there is a reason, right? It is not very useful. It's because you need a lot of land. So there is a reason and cause and effect. So introduce the effect or result, and because introduce the cause or reason. Number 5, which sentences use a comma to separate the clauses? So sentences, the sentence number 1, there's a comma, and the number 3, there's another comma. 1 and 3. The first one is zero condition, and the number 3, you have the so. Pay attention. You have to pause the video before I give you the answer, right? How is this sentence different from sentence 2? So what is the sentence 2? Sentence 2, ground source heating is very reliable because it almost never breaks down. And the sentence that they gave, because the price is not so low, it seems like a great future source of energy. So what is the difference between the two sentences? The difference is the first one, the one that they gave us, it starts with the because. You see, the reason comes first, and then you have a common. So this is the dependent clause, and you have the independent one. It seems like a great future source of energy, right? In the second one, the dependent clause comes after the independent one, you see, and then you don't need comma, okay? It starts with the reason clause because, which means that we need a comma, like I said. And we don't need a comma if because comes in the middle, like this one here. You don't need a comma. So let me check if you finished slide 22 to 28. Yeah, this is the last one. So we finish the class right now. Okay, guys. See you next class. Bye.